So first of all, welcome to CHS Leeds, and thanks so much for taking the time out for this particular session, which we'll talk about in just a second. Just so you know, a lot of the feedback from previous events, we really wanted to sort of connect with our guests and talk about professional growth and personal growth, and we kind of try to stay clear of some of the subjects you can get in lots of other places, lots of other shows who do them really, really well. But some of the feedback from last year was basically, yeah, this is all very well, but you haven't taught us how to organise an event yet. And we kind of thought, actually, that's a fair enough point. So today, the content is all about just sort of trying to take you from like step one to sort of step 6 of event organising, stopping off at sustainability, stopping off at AI and data. This morning, the first session was Events 101, which was just, you know, where to start, marketing, and we'll try and pick that up along the way. Now, what's happening is we've asked each of our speakers to kind of do tips, top tips, and we're creating a compendium at the end of the day, which we'll send to you. So if you do miss a session, hopefully you'll get the top tips and you'll get a bit of a compendium at the end of it. So that's what's happening as well. That being said, this morning, which was a really lovely session, was all about the vision and how to organise events and creativity and things like that. And I think with a lot of event organisers, that would have A, been inspirational and B, really scary. So we actually thought the next person that should come up is Sam to talk about resilience, because I think, personally, I think if I was organising events, I'd want to be resilient enough to go through that process, which can sometimes be a thankless / laborious / scary process as well. So Sam has been part of the CHS community for almost a year now. Spoke here not so long, this time last year, and rocketed to flame, speaking around the world within the events industry as well as outside the events industry, which is where we found her. So I'm going to let Sam introduce herself, but in the interest of us all being lovely and kind, can we give a massive round of applause to Sam as she goes?
Thanks, Al. Thanks so much. Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me okay? It's really strange not getting any sound back and you're all there with these headphones on. So yeah, my name is Sam Stimpson. My pronouns are she, her. And just a bit of background into what I do and when my sort of experiences. I'm from the art space. So I'm a musician. I play violin, viola and the piano. Any musicians in the room? Yes, lovely. Okay, some of you are like, yeah, I played recorder maybe at school, yeah, and that's about it. Well, no, I went all in with classical music. So my original experience with events was being part of them, performing with orchestras and quartets and so forth. I then went on to teach, and then I started to look into the wonderful world of diversity and inclusion, because as you can imagine, as a classically trained musician, I was kind of a rarity, one of few. So when you think about resilience and having to deal with a lot of crap coming your way and behaviours and attitudes which were, well, archaic to say the least, I had to build that up rather quickly. And when I moved into leadership, I realised that there were a lot of people out there who were doing great work and just didn't quite have the strategies to be able to deal with some of the adversity that comes their way. So then I started looking at coaching. So now, in a nutshell, what I do is I help to transform cultures and organisations to make sure that they are inclusive, that people are happy, that people are engaged, because when you're engaged, you're more productive. And guess what? When people are more productive, you make more money. So, simples, as they say. We've got literally 30 minutes, and I'm going to just whiz through something which I would normally talk a lot longer on. I hope at the end we've got some time for questions. And my aim is today to just give you a few strategies to kind of help you with those moments when everything seems to just be going wrong. And everything does, doesn't it? So on that note, what I'd love to do is I'd like to invite you, you can take your headphones off just for a minute. Have a chat with the person next to you. When was the last time something went really wrong at an event you planned? I want you just to talk to the person next to you or an event you went to. I'm going to give you like a minute to do that.
You're never getting back, Sam.
Oh, no.
worse than that.
Headphones on. Headphones on. Headphones back on, please. Thank you. As Alistair said, you could take the whole half hour just doing that. I overheard a few. Can I share? Okay. So at the front here, getting to the venue where your event is at and finding the venue locked. Yeah. Another one we had over here. Can I share? When they mic you up and you've got these earrings on and the earring won't come out and it's just constant rattle whilst you're talking. I mean, yeah, I can just imagine what's happened. And we can laugh about it now, right? But at the moment, in that moment, we were not laughing. So the thing is, which way am I clicking? There we go. It happens, right? It's not my dog. But it happens. We know it happens. We've been there. We've seen it. We've experienced it. But when it happens, what do we do with it? All right, so this is the lovely dung beetle. Dung beetle's like, shit, that's what I'm all about. I just make it my home. I love it. So this is going to be a little bit about things that we can consider to make sure that when the hits the fan, we're in a really great place to be able to deal with it and we can help build that resilience. So let's start with some basic definitions. I love a definition because it just means that we're on the same page. So this is one way of looking at resilience, this capacity to remain flexible in our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And this means that when we're faced with disruption, change, or pressure, we emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable. And for me, that last bit is really important because how do we learn from these experiences? How do we make sure that we can reflect on that and go, okay, that happened this time, I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen again. And when I think about this idea of being flexible and being able to think in the moment, it also reminds me what resilience isn't. It's not bouncing back. Oh, get over it. That happened. Now get back on again. It's not about trying to stay really firm, like, oh, this is going on. It's okay, I've got this. No, the idea of being flexible is being able to move with it, but remain rooted. It's not about invulnerabilities, this idea that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Actually, no, it doesn't necessarily. What doesn't kill you can make you weaker. So how can we make sure that we are able to be vulnerable in those situations? And it is definitely not something that some people have and some people don't. Yes, depending on your lived experiences, you may well have experienced adversity in life, which means that you were more resilient from a young age. But it's certainly something that you can develop and work on. So I think about this idea of 3 key skills. One is being solution focused. So in that moment, okay, the venue's locked. You're going to panic, you're going to scream, you're going to shout, whatever it is you're going to do. But it's like, what can we do about that? And there are going to be various solutions. So I love this picture of the tree where they've kind of moved themselves to be able to get to the sunlight. It's about being agile and flexible. So this idea that, without breaking, moving, twisting, maybe going into spaces that feel really uncomfortable, but actually still remaining solid. And the idea of being resourceful. Where can you find what you need to help you? So these are the 5 pillars of resilience that I use when I go through my leadership training with CEOs, executive leaders, events planners, and organisers. And they are knowing thyself, clarity of purpose, don't know if you can quite see the one on the bottom right, support network, managing emotions, and growth mindset. So I'm just going to go through each of them fairly quickly. Again, apologies, 30 minutes, I'm doing the best I can. The first one is clarity of purpose. I think this one is really, really important. You are all in this industry for a reason. And when things go wrong, we often forget the key reason why we decided to step into this space to begin with. There is something about this world that we love. When I speak to people about it, they might be like, oh God, it's hell, but there's something about it. I can't imagine myself doing anything else. So thinking about that clarity of purpose, a few questions that you can ask yourself. And I would love you to take these away and spend a little bit of time when you have a moment, either by yourself or with your team, to think about, first of all, what is it that you're passionate about? What is it about this event space that makes you go, this is what I love? When you get up in the morning, what drives you to actually get out of bed and go into the office? Hopefully something does. But also, what are your goals? What are you hoping will come out of this? And more importantly, what are your values? So if your values are around loyalty, honesty, commitment, whatever it is, how does that align with the work and the space that you're in? Are you in an environment where your values are aligned, or are they constantly bucking up against each other? I love this next one. What do you want to be remembered for? So when I go to an event, I don't often know who's organised it, but when I do, if I've had a really great time, I want to find that person and go, thank you. I'm someone who has a non-visible disability called Meniere's disease, so I need to have people who understand that if I suddenly have a vertigo attack, which can happen at any time, I need a quiet space, I need a dark room. I've been to places where they've said, Sam, hi, as I've come in, thank you for sharing that with us. We've arranged for you to have this space, we've done this for you, we've put this in place for you. I want to thank that person and go, wow, I'll never forget this event because that particular person remembered to make it a special experience for me. And then also on a wider scale, remember, what is the impact that you want? Did you come into this space to change something, to leave a mark, to just go along with the status quo? What is it that you want to do in this space? What is it that nobody else is doing? So thinking about your clarity of purpose in those moments when things are going wrong, just to remind you, this is a bump. On the way up, it's up and down. On the way up, it's up and down. This might just be a little down moment. Number 2 is about knowing yourself. Now, my company is called SLS 360, and I founded it a couple of years ago. And the reason why it's called SLS 360 is because I believe in the power of an external and internal viewpoint. You can know yourself, but other people also know you. How often do you seek that feedback from other people? If I said to you, right, tell me your 5 strengths, and you could name them, if I then asked, I don't know, 3 or 4 people who know you well, would there be some parity there? Are they strengths that other people see in you as well? But more importantly, do you know what your strengths and weaknesses are? So knowing yourself means that in those moments when things are going wrong, you're like, it's okay, I can cope with this because I know that I'm at my best when I'm under pressure, or I know that I'm in my best when I'm given the opportunity to work with other people. So identifying when are you at your best? And if you work in a team, have you spoken to other people? When are you at your best? When can we get the best out of you and mitigate the opportunity or the chance of you going into burnout or overwhelm? Knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are, but playing to your strengths. It's so, so, so important. I worked with an organization once where they focused their performance management on developing people's weaknesses. No, why don't we play to people's strengths? Because that's when we're going to get the best out of them. This one I love. What are your reactive patterns? When things go wrong, what is it? Is it anger? Is it, oh my God, I can't cope? Is it, right, that's it, I've had enough of this? Is it, right, I'm going to stay in bed under the duvet? You know yourself. Is it, I'm going to reach for the first bottle of wine? Is it, I'm going to binge on Netflix? What is your reactive pattern? Do you find yourself going to these places when this happens? And what can you do to break that? Oh, hang on a minute. I know what's happening here. I can feel it. I'm going into overwhelm, and my temptation is now to call in sick tomorrow because I can't face another day. What can you do to break that pattern? And how can you communicate that to other people? Because they're going to be able to help you. It's happening again. I can feel it. I can't cope with this. I need your help. How do we communicate that with other people? Support network. How many of you have got a support network, as in a group of friends or professional group? Raise your hand if there's people that you know that you can go to. Amazing, hands down. How honest and open are you with them? Because let's be honest, we've all got egos, haven't we, right? And egos are really important. We need them. They protect us. But sometimes we don't like to tell people that we're not coping or we're not doing very well because we're afraid of being judged, aren't we? Like most people. So are you really honest with your support network? And who are they? Are they people that you can truly trust and depend on? Or they just happen to be colleagues that you work in the same space with? Yeah? How meaningful is that relationship? Because if you're going to be honest and ask people for help, it needs to be people you can trust. You don't want to be going to someone going, oh my gosh, I need help with this. And then they go, oh, goodness me, Claire can't even manage this. What's wrong with her? You don't want that person in your life. So who is it that you can call on? But also, what about people who've maybe dealt with a lot of adversity in the past or have dealt with situations where you can go, this has happened now and I don't know what to do, but can you help me with that? What is it that you can learn from them? The vulnerability element is important. Because if you don't have the courage to admit that things are going wrong and you maybe can't cope and you're finding it challenging, then you're always going to struggle. And there's that proverb, isn't there? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So yeah, you can go as fast as you want by yourself. But actually, if you're really aiming for the stars, you need to be part of a network. And this brings down this word of culture. Is there a culture in your organization where it's okay to ask for help, where you're encouraged to, where you're not judged, where there's compassion, where people are given space and grace to go, okay, we get this. We gave you this responsibility and it's now gone wrong. It's not a slight on you in any way, shape or form, and we're here to support you. So what is that culture like at your organization? And are there any other external networks that you're part of or that you could possibly join? This one is about managing your emotions. Now, I'm a meditator. I've meditated for about 15 years. I meditated during my pregnancy, literally beginning to end. And it was the best thing I ever did because it was one of those moments where I swear to God, I won't go into the details, but yeah, you've not experienced anything like it. And being able to regulate my nervous system through breathing was so important. So managing your emotions in that time is about recognizing that your limbic system is going overdrive. You're either going into fight, flight, or freeze. So what do we do in that moment? And this is really key. First thing, take a breath. Take a few breaths. I don't know if you've heard about box breathing, where you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 6. It may seem like the last thing you want to do in the moment when things are going horribly wrong, but your nervous system needs to know you're safe. Other people need to know you're safe. So get yourself back into a space of safety. Then accept the reality of the situation, not the drama. The reality of the situation is the building's locked. The drama is, oh my God, the building's locked, people are coming along, I haven't done my job, oh my goodness, they're going to fire me, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent, and then once I can't pay my rent, my partner's going to leave me. That's the drama. What is the reality? This has happened. Then take yourself into a space of positive talk. I've dealt with every other thing that's happened in the past because I'm still here. I can manage this. It will be okay. Lean into your strengths in those moments. What is it that you know that you can do really well? Leverage that. Lean into that. And then remember to communicate and ask for help. Very quickly manage expectations. This has happened. This is the possible outcome of it, but I'm dealing with it. This has happened. This is now the outcome of it. This is now what we have to do. The quicker you can manage other people's expectations as well as your own is really key. And the last thing about managing your emotions is if you're in a leadership role and you have people working with you, lead with authority and compassion. Somebody may have made a mistake. Somebody messed up. How you respond to that person in that moment is just as important because you're feeling like, I'm going to get the blame for this. Someone else has done something wrong and I'm going to get the blame. It's not fair. As soon as you go into it not fair and you start judging, you've lost compassion. So we have to recognize in that moment, lead with authority. Yes, this happened. You should have done that. We'll deal with this. We'll work on it so it doesn't happen again. Right now, in this moment, we need to remain calm and deal with the situation. Authority and compassion. And then the last one is about this growth mindset. So if you think about things that you are maybe nervous about doing, scared to do, spaces that you haven't been into, I always have this saying that the cave you fear to go into holds the most treasure. And this is where when we have those moments that frighten the bejeebus out of us, we have to remember that that's where the magic happens. Yeah? Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. If every day nothing ever went wrong, yeah, great. I guess your life would be amazing. But at the same time, you wouldn't be growing. You wouldn't be developing. When you look back on situations, we can laugh about it. Oh, remember when that happened. But then think about the fact you dealt with that. You're still here today. You haven't been sacked, I hope. So that's where the magic happens. So in those moments when things are going wrong, try and remember, okay, this feels really uncomfortable, but something good is going to come out of this, yeah? Even if it may not feel like it at the time. So these are some really useful questions, and I want you to just take a minute, actually, and have a think about those questions. And maybe, if you don't mind, taking your headphones off, just talking with the person next to you, pick one of those questions. So every time you have an event, what is your ultimate goal? You want it to be successful, how? No, don't take them off yet, sorry. You want it to be successful, how? Why? You want to have a certain amount of people. You want a certain experience. Always have a goal in mind for every event. If I ask the CHS staff what their goal is for this event, I'm sure they would have talked about it. These are our ultimate goals. But which aspect of that actually feels really daunting and why? Is there an element that you go, actually, I'm not sure about this? And what is it that you might need to overcome? What is the fear or the underlying doubt? It might be about your own self-belief. It might be about your belief in other people. And then planning for failure. We plan for success, don't we? We never plan for failure. So what's the worst that could happen? And then, actually, if that were to happen, how could I recover from this? It is such a powerful question to ask yourself because it allows you then to visualize that worst case scenario, but already know that you've decided I'll be okay. So if the worst case scenario from the building being locked was that, yes, people couldn't get in and your bosses weren't happy with you and you lost your job and then your partner left you, guess what? You'd find another job, you'd find a new partner, you'd find somewhere else to live, you'd recover from it. So giving ourselves permission to recognize that, yeah, there's no need to be afraid of the worst thing that can happen. Let's plan for it. Probably never will, but let's plan for it just in case. Also visualizing what success looks like. It's really important to be able to go, right, I know what it's going to feel like if I'm successful at this event. And then saying, yeah, I'm going to celebrate my wins or my progress. What am I going to do? How am I going to celebrate the fact that I've managed to get through this? And most importantly, in terms of a growth mindset, is reflecting what happened, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Reflect on it. What does that tell you about yourself? What does that tell you about your team? All of these together help you to develop the resilience that you need so that every single time you step into a space where you're running an event, you're like, I've got this. I'm good. And that's me. Whew, that was a whistle-stop tour. Thank you so much for listening. Please do scan the QR code, connect with me on LinkedIn. Jump on the website. And I think we've got a bit of time for some questions.
We do, but first of all,
Amazing.
A massive round of
Thank you.
applause to the awesome Sam.
Thank
Sam,
you
you're
so much.
so good at this. I'm conscious that if you're in this particular session, you either have something or you're worried something might happen. So, I mean, and I know this is a sensitive play and things like that, but if you have anything that you'd like to offer up, whether it's an opinion or a question or a scenario to Sam that might benefit everyone else, please do let me know and I'll do my...
Yeah, that'd be super helpful. Thank you so much. And if you don't mind just saying your name, if you're happy to share your pronouns as well, that would be great.
Holly, she, her.
Ah.
How would you support someone that potentially is having a bit of a breakdown at an event? You're seeing them going through this. What would your advice be?
Right, great question. Oh, now I can hear myself.
The question. Thank you, Holly.
All right, so as I said, those strategies for in the moment, I'm just going to flick back. Yeah. So you need to be armed with this sort of information as well. So whenever that happens, I can see someone's literally going through something in that moment. Try and make eye contact, if that's okay, if you're happy with that. Just get them to focus on you and take a breath, okay? And just do that breathing. Remember, we talked about your nervous system. At the moment, they are seriously in fight or flight, and they're looking to possibly be immobilized. So you have to connect them with you, which is why it comes back to your safety. When you regulate your emotions, you are the safest person in the room. Other people feel safe with you. So take them through some breathing, get them to sit down and affirm, positive affirmation. You're going to be fine. It's going to be okay. This is a tricky moment. Make them laugh. Sometimes, when we laugh or when we cry, it's a great way to process emotions. So if you can, just say something funny like, yeah, this was me. And then, snot was running down my nose or whatever it might be. As soon as you get a little inkling of a smile, that's a pivotal moment. That means that they're out of that dramatic space and they're in the present. If you have somewhere where they can sit, not left alone, if you've got capacity for someone to sit with them for a while, then sit with them. And then ask them, when you're ready, come with me, stay with me, just walk with me and try and get them to be in your zone of safety. That's what I would suggest.
Brilliant.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Sam. Has anyone got any other... I mean, that was a brilliant question. Sorry, I will... has anyone got any other questions? Sorry.
Hi there.
Hi, Joy, she, her.
Thank you, Joy.
So the thing that I struggle with, or that I would say is where I need to work on, is the areas that I can't control as an organiser and how I stop taking that personal or let that overcome me and actually work better to work. So, for example, people who would view it as an event rather than the overall experience and how you bring them on that journey. So that's where I struggle and where I take it the most personal, because it's the reflection on me when it's their behaviour. So what can I do to keep myself more focused on what I can control? Because it's a big issue.
I love that, Joy. And thank you so much for vulnerably bringing that question into the space. I appreciate that. I always say to myself, even in days like this, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's not about me. And if you can, almost like a mantra, repeat that to yourself. This idea of what other people thinking of you, I also say, what other people think of me is none of my business. It's none of my business. That's your business. Whatever you think of me, you may come away from today and go, Sam was rubbish. That's your business. It's nothing to do with me. I can't do anything about how you feel. And when you start to internalize what other people think as it to be anything to do with you, that's when there are issues. So constantly reminding yourself that actually everybody's lived experience, everybody's views on the world, everybody's thoughts about this event that you put together, they might say it was rubbish. It's nothing to do with you. That's them, their experiences, their expectations, their life affirmations. And so we have to just constantly say to ourselves, what other people think of me is none of my business. What other people think of me is none of my business. And it's just one of those things that as the more you think it, the more you repeat it, you start to live it. And you even get to the point where people can say stuff to you that you think, oh my God, that really hurts. But then you remind yourself that when they walk away, they're not thinking about you. You're not occupying that much space in their head. We're not that special. So I know it's a challenging thing to do, and I'm not going to say it's easy. It really isn't easy. I'm talking to you like this, like, oh yeah, I do it all the time. It's taking a long time to get there, but it's made my life so much easier because there's so much out of my zone of control that I have to just relax behind it. And that's the other thing, recognizing when you're in that space where you're like, oh my God, I want to control this and I can't. Rather than fighting that feeling, relax behind it. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to control something that I can't. And that's okay. Because often we do this, don't we? But just breathing and relaxing behind it and going, yeah, can't control that. What will be, and keep it moving.
We have time for just one more quick. Was it?
Thank you.
I think it was yourself. Sorry, bigger pardon. Thanks, by the way, Joy.
Thank you, Joy. Hello.
Hi Sam, I'm Pippa.
Pippa, thank you.
Just from a different point of view, like if you're dealing with a tricky client, for example, and you know, it's our job to be like happy smiley and make things all happy and hunky-dory for them. You know, it gets to a point where that can like wear you down as well. And you know, there is room for challenge. But how would you suggest we deal with like clients who are like really tough on us, like constantly there's nothing you can do to, you know, make them happy?
Great question, Pippa. Thank you. So I think I would distinguish between somebody speaking their truth and being honest and somebody being rude, hurtful, offensive. They're two separate things. So I'm all for people expressing their dissatisfaction, how they feel about things, as long as no one is getting hurt and they're not disrespectful and they're not rude. There's a line there. So if they've crossed that line, then you need to be very clear that in this moment, because of the way that you are behaving, I'm going to need you to step aside and we're going to need to talk about this in a different arena because you're actually being rude and being offensive. So that's the one thing. You deal with that one way. If that's not the case and someone is being respectfully honest, and coming back to Joy's point, remembering, first of all, it's not about you. It may seem like a personal attack on you, but there's something happening with that person. One person might be, oh, this situation's cool. Another person is like, oh my God, I need to complain. Two different people, the same scenario. It's never about you. So I always think it's important to have what I call skilled candor. Skilled candor is the balance between being respectfully honest and showing that you care, okay? So in those moments, you need to be respectfully honest with the person. So if it is something that you've done wrong, then you take that responsibility and you show that you care by saying, I understand, thank you so much for talking to me about that. We will deal with it the best way I can. If they continue to kick off and they continue to kick off and they continue to kick off, you may well need to bring other people into the space, but also by asking them, what would help in this moment? What would help you in this moment? What can I do in that moment? And that's really hard, especially when you're feeling like you're personally attacked, but you've got to keep reminding yourself, it's not about me. It's not about me. What can I do to support this person, even if they are in the throes of the most angry tantrum? What can I do to help them? And the safer you are, the calmer you are, you bring them into that level of safety. I've seen full-on arguments happen at events before where, like you said, a person has complained about something and the person in response hasn't managed to really regulate those emotions. So thinking about what is it that I can do in that moment to center my attention on them, regardless of what's happening. Because you're right, they are at the event. They are there to have the best experience. You are part of that. But just keep that reminder, this is not about me.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Sam.
You're welcome.
we could go on forever, but I'm so glad that you've come here, and thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you,
those
everybody. Thank
questions.
you
I
for your
really,
time
really
and
appreciate it.
attention. Please do connect with me. Oh, I'll put my LinkedIn code up again. And also, I'm going to be around, so if you want to have a chat with me, then come and find me. But thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day.
And while we process, and the next session isn't for another 15, so if you want to sit still or have a chat with Sam, that's absolutely fine. The next session is on AI, which you will need some of this coping mechanisms with the lovely Felicia. That's in 15 minutes. After that, we're looking at sustainability. We're also looking at marketing as well, and later on we'll finish up, and like I said, we'll send you the completed top tips of all of that sort of stuff. I should also say thank you to Lighthouse Events for making it all possible, and Conference Leeds as well. One last round of applause for Sam as well. That was really, really good, and for yourselves leaning in. Go and have some fun as well, but Sam's kicking around.